Wow. So I think it's time for our speaker today. And Peter Bedard is a MACHT, which is clinical hypnotherapist, an author, speaker, and he's a tea maker. He actually has a wonderful business where he makes and sells teas as well. But beyond all of that, I've known Peter for a while. We've become very good friends. And Peter is such a great friend. He's always there when you reach out to him to help, to assist, to listen to what you have to say. And I know that that's what he does in his work as well as a counselor. So Peter's talk today is called Simple Conscious Creation, How Not to Make It Hard. So most of us are creating our lives by default, subject to the circumstances around us. When we discover the tools of conscious co-creation, we step above the line into our highest potential. And some of the quotes that Peter chose today was, the greatest compliment one can give to the creator is to be creative. And that's by Julie Cameron. Everything you can imagine is real. And that's by Pablo Picasso. The universal mind contains all knowledge. It is the potential ultimate of all things. To it, all things are possible. And that's by Ernest Holmes. And his affirmation that he chose today is, it is done as I believe. So let's welcome Peter Bedard.
All right. Hey, everybody. I need to raise this up. So I am so glad to be here. You know, it's been, I think, 2.5 years since I had the honor to speak here.
3 years.
3 years. So that's a while. And so much has changed and so much has stayed the same. And I'm so glad that this community is still here. Thank you for being such a, yeah, right on, bring it out. You guys inspire me. Wherever I go and participate in CSL stuff, inevitably I talk about this little community called Yucca Valley CSL. And I talk about how it has just this wonderful heart and how I so appreciate being connected to you guys. So for everybody online, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this community. When I first met you guys, I didn't know if you were going to make it. And you did. And it's so exciting to see this community and all you've created. So thank you for that. So I want you guys just to put your hand out like this. This is a line. It's just an imaginary line. But we're going to say this is your line. And there's above the line and there's below the line, right? So I want you to put where you think your behavior is without really knowing my definition, but just assuming you know what it means to be above the line or below the line. Where do you find yourself regularly? Good. Some of you are way up here. Some of you are kind of down here. Right? Some of you in the middle, that's awesome. You can put your hands down. So this idea of above the line, what does that mean? And how does that connect with CSL, right? The Centers for Spiritual Living and our teachings. Above the line behavior, understanding in the world is I love myself so much. I love myself so much I can let other people be exactly who they are. Because I don't need their approval. I don't need them to like me. I get to love myself. I get to be so secure in who I am. I love myself so much that I let you be angry. I let you be ashamed. I let you be hurt. And it's okay. I don't need to fix you. I don't need to change you. I get to just love you because I love myself so much. That's above the line behavior. And how can you apply that in your life? What does that look like? Is there someone that you go below the line with regularly? You know, Father's Day's coming up. Is there someone that you go below the line? that you want their permission or you want their acceptance. You want them to love you. You want them to speak to you differently, to talk to you differently. You want them to respect you. What if you loved yourself so much that it was okay that they didn't love you, that they didn't respect you? What if you were so good in yourself with your connection with the divine, you know the divine so much in your life that you could give them permission and freedom to be exactly who they are? Because when you do that, you're giving yourself that freedom. We unconsciously create every day. Every day we go through our lives and we unconsciously create the world that we live in. We have habits. We just go through things. The subconscious mind, which is honestly about 97% of who we are, has behavioral patterns, thoughts, opinions, judgments. Harvard came out with a study a few years ago that showed that the iceberg we used to look at of the conscious and the subconscious being this 80% below the water line, and the conscious brain being this little berg of ice above the water, is actually less than you thought. You are actually mostly 97% unconscious. Isn't that interesting? You don't have to think when you get out of bed. You just get out of bed. You don't have to think about how to turn on the faucet and get a glass of water or do whatever you're doing. You know how to do it. And that's a good thing when those experiences of the subconscious are in alignment with our teachings here at CSL, are in alignment with love, are in alignment with goodness. But when they're not, when they're in alignment, I heard when they're in alignment with fear, when they're in alignment with worry, right? And a lot of the world is going to that place. Being in the position to be able to say, I'm stepping into my consciousness, that 3%. And I want you to get a vision of that. That 3%, I know we're not near the ocean, but how many of you have been out or seen freighter ships out on the water? Those giant freighter ships, even the news, one was stuck in a canal recently, right? Those massive ships. The boat itself is your subconscious. The captain's room, the steering room of the ship, that's your consciousness. And if you've ever been on those ships, that room is kind of as big as the space that I'm in right behind me. That's it. They're not big spaces. All the computers, the steering wheel, everything feeds into this little space. That's your conscious brain. 97% subconscious, 3% conscious. But most of us wake up in the morning and we don't say, I'm going to create my morning. We say, oh, crap, what do I have to do today? Right? Who do I have to go? Who do I have to pay? What man do I have to pay? Right? The man, right? What job do I have to go and do that I don't want to do? Does that make sense to y'all? I'm looking for some head nods online there. All you Zoomers. All right. So most of the time we are unconsciously creating the life based on our opinions, our judgments. If we think we were traumatized, we had a horrible childhood, life is hard, we create from that place. That experience is going to happen. In brain science, we call it brain space. Literally, your brain makes space to do whatever you're good at. If you're good at worrying, if you're good at being afraid, if you're good at thinking the world's happening to you, then you are going to create that experience. If you are above the line, so let's talk a little bit about that again. Below the line behavior is I'm a victim. Things were done to me. I was hurt. I was traumatized. Below the line behavior is encouraged in our culture. We go to people and say, oh, I'm so sorry. God, your life was so hard. Oh my gosh, I feel for you. Compassion's great. But oftentimes we enable people to keep making those mistakes. We make room for them. Above the line behavior is the universe is happening for my benefit. God and I are co-creating the laws of the universe. I am using those laws and I am consciously making my life. I am creating my day. And it's so simple. And what I love about CSL, the Centers for Spiritual Living, what I love about it is it shows us how to do that. In the teachings of Ernest Holmes and in the Spiritual Center, we talk about spiritual equivalents. Do you guys know what a spiritual equivalent is? I see a couple head nods. Good. So a spiritual equivalent is something called love with a capital L. It's something called beauty with a capital B. It's power, abundance, prosperity, health, wellness. A spiritual equivalent is the song that you sang. I am complete. I am whole. I am perfect. As God is, so I am. Now, my question to you, if you're going to become a conscious creator and you want to keep it really simple, pick a spiritual equivalent. Are you going to be abundant? Because as God is abundant, so are you. You are the drop from the ocean. The ocean is vast abundance, more than you could ever imagine, but you are that drop. You have every quality of the ocean inside of you. But we have this thing called independence, free will. You could deny it. You could look at the circumstances in your life, at the results, the effects that you are living, and you can say, look, I have evidence. I'm not good. I'm not good enough. I'm unworthy. I'm powerless. So I'm challenging you right now to throw out a spiritual equivalent that you want to embody today. That's always there, that's inside of you, that is God. A spiritual equivalent, by the way, is another word for the divine. God is beauty. God is love. God is wholeness. God is perfect health. I claim that one for myself all the time. If you've read my book, some of you I know had, and I spoke here before, right? I did not have perfect health. I was slammed in the back of a semi-truck. I died. I came back. I had to heal myself of all kinds of things: fibromyalgia, arthritis, asthma, bronchitis, sciatica, white blood cells attacking red blood cells, hemoglobin splitting, shutting down organs, depression, anxiety, all kinds of other things that I could talk about too. I healed that. It wasn't the I in me. It was the I in God. Healed that. I understand God is perfect health. As God is perfect health, so am I. And I embody that as I walk through life as best I can every day. So I'm going to ask you on Zoom to put in the chat, which spiritual equivalent do you need to embody today? Which do you choose in your conscious moment of creating this life? In this conscious moment right now, give me a word.
Love.
Love. Awesome. And I'm going to ask you, how do you get to be love? How do you get to embody, demonstrate it, let it come from the divine into your physical form and out through you in the world? What does that look like right now? What's the sound of it? Because you know the sound of maybe misery or hate or pain.
Oh.
Beautiful. Oh, the sound of love. What if we all walked in that sound today? What if you practiced that? So I'm inviting you to walk in Joe's understanding. Brad's understanding. My eyes over here and you're over there. I'm inviting you to walk in that Om today. If you want, close your eyes for a moment and just visualize, imagine, think about what is it like to walk in Om. You know what it's like to walk in anger and frustration, probably subconsciously. You know what it feels like. What does it sound like as you speak through that quality of Om? You know what it sounds like to speak in the quality of pain. Maybe it's tight, maybe it's high-pitched, maybe it's cut off, there's like this tension inside of you. What is it like to speak from love? That Joe says is the sound, Joe again. Brad says is the sound of Om. What is it like to speak in the sound of Om? And what if you loved yourself so much that somebody out there maybe doesn't like you, or maybe you don't like them? What is it like to speak to them from that sound of Om? Practice it right now. Close your eyes. Practice it right now. I want today, we have these stories in our head all the time. We imagine these arguments with people or talking to someone. Maybe it is your father. Maybe it's your spouse or your friend. What is it like to speak to that person now through love, through the sound of Om? As you practice this in your visioning, feel the vibration of that sound with whatever words you speak. That Om is playing in the background. Om. It's in your consciousness now. We make it so hard. We buy into these ideas that we're a victim. That look what life is doing to us. Look what it did to me. Look what my parents did to me. Look what the economy did to me. You know what? Rise above. Step above the line. Start here. Create this moment. Be that love, as Brad invited you to. So my background is I have a master's degree in quantum theory and theology. That was like 17 years ago. I couldn't tell you anything about it. And my big takeaway from all those years of study, all those years of lab books and reading and all that type of stuff, my big takeaway is that our thoughts and our feelings, in my opinion, are the conscious collapse, the quantum collapse, the moment of creation in the world that we live in. Your thought and your feeling come together. Thought, feeling come together, create that moment of what we call reality. Cause and effect. What you think, how you feel, becomes the life you live and the world we collectively live in. So I want you to notice maybe an old thought you used to have, like, I'm not good enough. That's a common one. I'm not enough. That's a common one. I don't have enough. I'm too poor. And I want you to notice, what's the feeling with that thought? What's the feeling with that thought? Maybe it's a pit in your stomach, a tension in your neck, a crick in your hip. Whatever it is, that thought and that feeling are creating the reality that you are living. They come together and create that quantum collapse of the world that we find ourselves exploring. What if you chose today to have a thought of Om, of love, of perfect health? What if you thought about perfect health? Because we often think automatically, subconsciously about our pain, and we think about it for hours on end. How many of you had that experience? Right? How messed up things are, how upset I am about my finances, how worried I am about that relationship. We obsess about those things for hours, and we're good at it, which means that your brain is going to practice it more and more and make room for you to do that more and more, because that's the unconscious act of creation. Now, it may not feel real. I know this, I do a lot of addiction work, and to people who have addiction issues, they always say to me, but that's not real. And I say, exactly. It's not real yet, but it will be. And if it's not real and it's not comfortable, that's great, because what you're comfortable with, that sucks. What you're comfortable with, you might want to show that at the door. Put it outside. That makes sense? Do I get some head nods?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to invite you right now to have a pure thought, as best you can, of goodness, of health, of perfection, of wholeness, of you as whole, perfect, and complete. Think that thought. Eyes closed, eyes open. I close my eyes when I do it because if my eyes are seeing other things, my brain gets so distracted. So I have to close my eyes and go in, bring my vision inside. And I think that thought of wholeness, I am whole, as the universe is all consciousness, all awareness. I know who I am is an extension, an emanation of the divine. And so I am that. And so I hold that truth for myself right now. I am whole. I am whole. Oh, and the feeling of that wholeness is my heart opens. The feeling of that wholeness is that there's a deeper breath happening inside me. The feeling of that experience is open and wide. And so I have that thought, that beautiful thought of knowing that I am whole. And I have that feeling of that open, wide goodness, that breath deep inside me. And I now consciously create this experience and bring it into my life. I bring it into my life every day in every way. I bring it into my life. I practice it, even if it doesn't feel real, even if it doesn't feel authentic, because I know as I practice it, my brain makes space for it. As my brain makes space for it, it's going to do it more and more, because my consciousness can teach my brain a new way of being. I teach myself sobriety, and I invite God to flow through me. I teach myself wholeness. I teach myself health. I teach myself love as God guides me in this moment right now. Take a deep breath, open your eyes if you will. Do you notice the shift? Do I get some head nods?
Yeah.
How about all you guys there on Zoom? Do I get some head nods? All right. Awesome. I am so grateful for all of you. And I'd like to move into our meditation now. So if you will, get yourself comfortable. Take a nice deep breath. I'm going to ask you to open your eyes, actually. And I want you to pick a spot above you. For those of you who can see my eyes, I want you to have your head comfortable, your neck comfortable. Let your eyes reach up to the ceiling as if I'm looking through my forehead, looking through my third eye. My eyes are going to strain. They're going to be uncomfortable. Good. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them blink and blur and fatigue. Let them close when they're ready. You're not forcing them to close. You're not telling them to close. You're inviting them to shift your attention from the outside world to the inside world, to blink, to blur, to fatigue, to unfocus, and simply close. And as you make that transition, not by control is close your eyes, but governance, possibility, working with your body, working with the universe, working with the divine. And as your eyes close, shift your vision inside and let your breath support you in this process. Let your breath be deep and wide. And I'm inviting you to pick a spiritual equivalent right now. To pick perfect health. To pick divine right action, the unfoldment of God. To pick abundance, prosperity, love. And to use your brain, your consciousness right now gets to use your brain and the tools of your brain. And the tools of your brain are color and temperature and texture and sound and smell and taste. The tools of your brain are your senses. Your brain knows the world only through those senses. So I'm inviting you right now to understand that spiritual equivalent through your senses, whichever you picked, health, abundance, to understand it as the color of it. If you were to paint it, there's so many artists in this room. If you were to paint that experience of that spiritual equivalent, what color would you pick? What would be its temperature? Cool, warm, hot, like a beach day, a hot sun and a cool breeze. Understand it now in your body, in your mind. Feel it. The temperature, the texture of it. Maybe it's soft or velvety. Maybe it's fuzzy like your kitty's belly. I love rough. Some people would say, well, why would that be a good quality? And I love rough, scratchy towels. Oh my gosh. That feeling of scratching my back. Oh my God, I love that feeling. What's the sound of that spiritual equivalent? What's the smell or the taste? Oh, the smell for me is often lavender or lemon bars. Some might be apple pie. What is the taste of that love, of that perfect health? And bring it into your body. Feel it in you. Know it. The taste, is it sweet? Is it tangy? I bet some of you are a little tart. What's the taste? And as you consciously now understand this experience, I'm inviting you to visualize, imagine, and think about walking in that understanding. How does it feel to walk in that sweetness, or that lightness of being, or that flow? If you stepped back and watched yourself, maybe you would see someone who's kind of gliding along, floating through life in that lightness of being, to know it, to see it, to be it right now, to hear it in your voice, to speak that quality, even maybe in a difficult conversation. How do you speak that sweetness? To feel the choice of words that you make. Because believe me, you're going to choose different words if you're speaking through that equivalent than the words you may have used in the past. To understand this so that it could be your new normal, to teach your brain this experience in the world. So that your brain can go, oh, I get it. I understand it. I knew what it was like in that old behavior that made me miserable and sad. Now I know what it's like in this new experience, to walk in this spiritual equivalent, to bring it into my life right now, to embody it in my world, to share it through this physical body that I have, and go deeper. Maybe that taste is something like, or maybe that color is like when you climbed that mountain and you saw that sunset. Maybe that texture was when a lover caressed you. To know it, to feel it, to remember, to be, to consciously create right now. And notice that when we get out of our way, it becomes fun. Your brain likes to do this. It likes to engage in this way. Our brains are normally engaged through pain and suffering and stories of misery, all that bullshit we tell ourselves. And let's laugh at it because it really is funny. To take this moment now to practice that love, that perfect health. And I'm inviting you at the end of our service to go up to somebody and say hello to them in that energy, to practice so that you get to physically bring this more and more every day in every way into your world. To go up and demonstrate that experience now. Maybe it's just by saying hello. Maybe it's by seeing someone and really seeing them, looking at them directly in the eye and saying, I love you. Whatever it is, practice it right now. And so I'm inviting you at this point to gently come back to this moment. Just take a nice deep breath. To stretch your arms above your head, to Let your body feel all that goodness to stretch, expand into it. Oh, everybody's doing it. Awesome. All my Zoomers, thank you. To take this experience now and to walk it into the world, because we often feel that the world is so overwhelming. And yet, every day we have the opportunity, every moment, one day at a time, we have the opportunity to create our life. And you could do it anytime you want. And so, as we wrap up, I wanted to just bring a few copies of my book. I'm donating these to the center. So these books are normally $16. For those of you online, you can get them on Simon & Schuster, or Amazon and Audible and Kindle and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to donate these books because they're precious to me. They're my life's work. And I love you so much that I'm just going to give these to this community with the request that if you want a book, please make a donation on top of what you're tithing today. Please make a donation back to the center. Whether it's $1, $5, the cost of the book, $16, $20, whatever it is, this book can change your life. And I want to support the center in that way. So these go to you. Whoever wants them, I'm going to leave them up here. You can grab them now, after service, whenever you want. Thank you so much for being part of my journey. Thank you for allowing me to be up here, to be connected with each of you. My heart feels so much love, and I'm blessed by you all. Thank you.